anti-Trumper amazingly admits to Charlie Kirk that he will vote for Donald Trump after a few minutes of discussions. Guys, this is a fun one. It's a little bit different from usual. You'll see what I mean here. It's not your usual leftist getting owned type of video, but it's still very interesting and entertaining nonetheless. So we're gonna get right into it, guys. It's gonna be a great time and you're gonna enjoy it. But first, everybody, there's one important thing I need you to do. Please like our video, share it around, and yes, subscribe if you are new to the Resist the Mainstream YouTube channel. And for those of you who are coming back, welcome back, guys. Thank you so much. As always, everybody, I'm your host, Darian. Let's get into the show.
Hi, Charlie. So my question is, you support Christian values, as do I. How do you support a man who, in many ways, is the antithesis of those values in Donald Trump?
Oh, I thought you were going to say Joe Biden.
What? Well, if it's a, you've supported Trump in the primaries too.
Yeah.
So there was other options at that point.
Well, yeah, so you're asking why do I support a sinner?
Why do you support someone who...
Because you're obviously not a sinner, right?
No, I'm a sinner, but his whole life and his values are all the antithesis of what the Ten Commandments are and things like that.
Okay, so I'm not even sure what to make of that. Let's just look at his presidency. I mean, was he not an excellent president? Do you disagree?
Well, I believe that character matters in our leaders.
I do too. So actually, here's my number one mark of character for a politician. Did you do what you say you were going to do? And Donald Trump did what he said he was going to do.
I'm sorry, do we have a wall across the whole southern border right now?
Well, we built a couple hundred miles of border wall.
But he said he was going to build a full wall.
Right, there were limitations for that. He shut down the government for 60 days over that.
Hold
on a second.
Wait, who is you?
I'm sorry?
You said you shut down the government. Who is you?
Donald Trump shut down the government for 60 days to try to get $4 billion in border wall funding. He put Schumer and Pelosi in his office. He did everything at his disposal while he was facing 2 impeachments and 1 ridiculous special counsel investigation. Southern border crossings went down to a 30-year low under Donald Trump. We had asylum seekers that were rejected back to their country of origin. You can nitpick certain things from the right to say, oh, I could have, would have, and should have. But let's go through the promises. Number 1, Donald Trump.
I will say, in Donald Trump's defense, it wasn't just Schumer and Pelosi who were holding him up. Arguably, his own party, the Republican Party, didn't at all care to secure the border. They just don't. And if you don't believe me, just compare the struggles Donald Trump went through to get just a few $1 million of border funding back then and see how much the Republicans have spent on funding and securing another country's border, namely that of Ukraine in the modern age. I mean, it's insane. We've sent over $200 billion of aid to Ukraine. Imagine if we put just, I don't know, 1/10 of that to the US border. We refuse to. Republican politicians and Democrat politicians alike will not do it. It's totally disgusting, and I think the American people are starting to see right through it, given these recent actions with the Biden administration and with Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson, who is more than happy to strike a deal with securing Ukraine's border, but can't seem to accomplish that with the US border.
Gave us and fulfilled the promise 3 excellent Supreme Court justices so that we had the reversal of Roe versus Wade. Hold on. As a Christian, will you give him credit for that?
I give him credit, but are you saying any other Republican president would have done the same thing?
George W. Bush gave us a liberal Supreme Court justice.
John Roberts?
John Roberts voted against us on critical issue
on
after
which ones, besides Obamacare?
Roe versus Wade.
He was against us on
Roe v. Wade? It was a 5-4 decision, not a, I believe. I could be incorrect.
I thought it was 6-3, but I may be wrong.
You might be right on that. I don't want to speak out of turn. However, he voted against on many of the other issues recently. By the way, Roberts is very liberal, okay? So secondly, George H.W. Bush gave us Kennedy, Anthony Kennedy. It might have been Reagan. Either Reagan or Bush gave us Kennedy.
They wouldn't have been elected in 2016. If you had Ted Cruz, if you had Marco Rubio, they would have given us 3 people that match Kavanaugh, Gorsuch, and Coney Barrett.
Bush gave us liberal tilt justices. And that's number 1. But let me just ask a question. George W. Bush, did he ever speak at the March for Life?
I'm not aware of that.
No, he didn't, because he was a pro-abortion Republican because his wife was pro-abortion.
Trump can't even sort out his own take on abortion now.
Hold on a sec. You keep on changing the script here. You came here as a question is, how can I as a Christian support a sinner? We all agree we're all sinners.
As opposed to other candidates who probably have better character in the primaries, like Ron DeSantis.
What do you mean by character exactly?
Like not having a history of adultery, not having a history of immorality, mocking Mike Pence for praying in the White House.
So you believe that anyone that has wrongfully cheated on their wife should be disqualified from leadership, public office, all that stuff, yes? So your standards are higher than God's when King David became king over Israel, just so we're clear.
When they haven't shown the proper remorse for those actions.
Okay, well, you don't know what remorse he has shown or has not shown. But secondly, I'm not going to get into like the deep thicket here of defending Donald Trump's personal life, because we're in a...
Just a quick little point about the Christianity thing here. It's actually sinful to pretend you know what lies in somebody else's heart, which... this guy seems like a nice guy. I'm not trying to knock him, but you are kind of doing that if you say, well, he has no remorse for this alleged adultery. Really? Who are you to claim that? That's not your role. That's the role of God.
Binary right now. And the binary is very simple. Instead of moralizing against a man who's facing 700 years in federal prison for trying to put the American citizen first, I think we as Christians should get on our hands and knees and thank God that we have a fighter that is willing to actually go to DC and fight for us against that very regime. So hold on a second. You say, how can I as a Christian? I look at Samson, I look at David, I look at sinners throughout the Bible that were used for God's purposes. Do you recognize that?
Yeah, but are you saying that sinners are better than people who have less sins? Because if you looked at someone, just for example, like Ron DeSantis, who has, in my opinion, a much better character than Donald Trump. Are you saying that he wouldn't have gone to DC and fought for the values that you're saying Trump would fight for?
So I didn't support DeSantis. I like DeSantis. But let's talk about character. By all objective measurements, George W. Bush had better character than Trump. Loyally married, never accused of adultery, Christian. He gave us the Iraq War. He gave us the Afghan war.
You can point to one person.
Hold on, hold on. I'm talking about the only other Republican president of the 21st century, not one other person. Want me to point to his father, H.W. Bush?
What about Reagan?
Reagan is not as good of a president as Donald Trump. Reagan gave us no-fault divorce, mass amnesty. Reagan also expanded the national security state. Reagan was a fine president, but nowhere near as effective of Donald Trump president. So that's the...
This isn't going to be popular to say, I know, but I'm just going to go ahead and do it. Reagan was also infamously anti-Second Amendment. Yes, you heard that right. He literally is the person responsible for having banned open carry in California. Additionally, he signed anti-gun policies at the federal level as well. Yes, I'm going to say it. I know it's controversial and that might make a few people upset. Sorry, guys, it is what it is. Ronald Reagan, overrated.
President. So that's the question ahead of us, which is if you only look at character, which is your version of character, I don't share that version of character. It's does the politician do what he says he's going to do? And he did what he said he was going to do.
Well, not really.
He did that and in abundant terms.
Well, he did some of the things he said he would do.
Let's get to another one. Blessed are the peacemakers. You and I as Christians both believe that, right? How many new wars were started under Donald Trump?
But zero were started under Jimmy Carter also. I mean, that's not really
hold on, we're talking, yeah, you're right. And zero were started under, like, I don't know, William Buchanan or something. I don't know. Like, you can go way back into the presidential register here. I'm not advocating for Jimmy Carter's presidency from hospice, okay? It's a very simple question, which is, in the modern era, from Clinton to Bush to Obama to Trump to Biden, those are 5 presidents, okay? Only one of those 5 did not start a new international, reckless, adventurous war in any theater. And that guy is named Donald Trump. That for me is like a decision, it's like a massive, massive issue, especially when you look at the carnage and the funding. I mean, you don't want war, you're a Christian.
No, I'm not saying everything Trump did was bad.
Fair enough, okay. But so let me ask you a question. I mean this sincerely. Is there anything he can do to win you over?
I mean, I'll probably end up voting for him just because I don't like the other side. But I would have much rather preferred someone else from the primaries.
Fair enough. I think you're coming after this from a fair perspective, but I would challenge you not to just throw around...
I like RFK, though. I might vote for him.
Okay, well, then you're going to vote for a pro-abortion, pro-choice guy who would put radical left-wingers on the Supreme Court that would never win. But it's fine, you live in Washington, so your vote doesn't matter that much anyway. But it's true. I mean, it's unfortunately a super left-wing state. And just so we're clear, RFK is also an adulterer. I don't know if you've looked into that. So if your criteria is kind of falling apart. So I will just emphasize this, which is, as a Christian, it is tempting to try to impart our disciplined moral walk on every single politician that runs for office.
Absolutely. At its core, the question is very simple. What will this person do to help the American people? That's the only question that should be asked in terms of politics, and that's the only one that matters. Personal life? Sorry, it's totally irrelevant. Do we like it that if they have a stand-up personal life? Sure, of course we do. Why wouldn't we? But at the end of the day, let's say you get a president who's a very nice father and a loyal family man, whatever, but he's starting wars in the Middle East. Let's go back to the Iraq War with George Bush, for instance. We had over 30,000 U.S. service members killed as a result of the Iraq War. And for what? I still don't know. In addition to those 30,000 who are killed, we also have over 200,000 who are injured, many of those severe injuries that greatly hampered their life after the fact. But hey, you know what? At least George Bush wasn't accused of adultery, so it's all good. Yeah, I don't know about that one.
I totally get that. Instead, I take a step back and I say, who has actually done the things to fulfill the policy agenda that I think glorifies God? And that is Donald Trump. It's not even close.
Well, guys, we're going to cut it off right there. Thank you so much for tuning in. We really appreciate it. I thought that was an entertaining exchange, and I hope you did too. As always, be sure to comment below, guys. Let us know what you liked, what kind of content you want to see next, and we'll see you guys again soon. Thanks so much, and God bless.